Okay, and so the start stream button has been hit, so I'm going to expect to see my Twitch dashboard go live with this one in just a couple of seconds. There will be an ad popping up to make me a whole, like, hundredth of a cent. Because let's be real, no one's really going to watch this Twitch stream unless, everybody, finally, points it in and it gets linked. I see it coming up now. It gets linked to Reddit, and it comes on up with all of the hype, all of the jazz, with jungle buffs and stuff, which we'll be talking about later in the show today. So, sorry for getting this one out a little later, guys. Took a while to get this all set up. We are working with a pristine writer of the from Japan, actually. In the bottom left corner is our first guest, Lustboy, Andy Shin. He runs his own blog on esports, and we can tell and we can know that it's going to be some real high quality stuff because the Japanese pro scene has just started debuting off, and there was some really high quality games. I think Korea, with those Japanese players, finally have some contention in there. I'm being completely facetious. It's a young scene. It's developing. It's going to be great. But we have our first guest, Blue, and his article we'll talk about first. And the other guest that we have here is at TK's League, our first recurring guest on the show. So congratulations, TK. You have officially immortalized yourself as a steady revenue. Whenever there's a lack of guests, we can always just call on you. I mean, Summoning Insight did it with Crumbs, so we can do it here as well.
It's my dream come true.
It's your dream come true. Yes, it is. Okay, so Blue, any opening remarks for yourself?
Yeah, my name is Andy. I'm actually an intern in Japan, not really living here, but he's right about the blog though, so yeah.
And what was the website for that blog actually? It was at Azure or something. I actually looked.
Yeah, it's www.azure-mind.com. At the moment, it's all about League of Legends stuff, but I'm also very keen in the fighting game community, so you will be expecting to see some articles about those as well.
Okay, would that be Smash articles, Tekken, what kind of fighting games?
So basically, it'll be everything from Marvel, Street Fighter, Guilty Gear Xrd is really getting hype right now. But I would like to write about Smash, but there's already a lot of people doing it. But I would wet my feet into it if I get the chance.
Okay. All right, that's cool. So we're gonna open up then this article panel with Lustboy's article on TSM's acquisition of Lustboy. This is a little older article, and again, this show's kind of come out a little late as it is. But I think that with the situation that we've been seeing with Piglet and Team Liquid, as well as now there's talks of a bunch of some of the Korean players over in China leaving after the end of the season, the split there, and then returning to Korea to go back to playing on there. The discussion of imports, especially Korean imports, is incredibly relevant in the community right now. I know we're forgetting all of that with all the Spectic Faker drama and all the jungle drama crap, but this is something that I really wanted to actually look into and discuss. So let's go ahead and open up with what made you want to write about TSM's acquisition of Lustboy, and go ahead and explain what your article is, the thesis behind it, research process, just have it.
So I actually wrote this article when Piglet was getting a lot of attention because he just got benched, and all this drama surrounding him and Joker Steve going at it, but in the reality it wasn't really anything substantial. So originally I was going to write about comparing Lustboy to Piglet and what the management has done differently for the two players. But as I was writing about the Piglet section, it was really negative and nothing really positive. And I thought the guy had enough bashing by the community already. So I just focused my article towards TSM and Lustboy and how TSM's management brought up Lustboy to be, a real member of TSM and getting all this love and getting all this social media attention with the Lust scene and everything.
That's the greatest thing ever. It is.
So whoever photoshopped that his face onto John Cena perfectly, I love you.
Yes, I love you too. My brother does as well. There's a prank call out there where they advertise a match with John Cena. It was a radio station. They called this lady 10 times in a row to advertise it, and they would play the trumpet music in the background. She picked up the phone, she's like, hello, and they're like, and goodbye to anyone standing in John Cena's way. He has the tone for that, the little music in the background, as a Skype ringtone. It's the greatest thing ever. So that's why that particular meme is special to me. But anyways, continue on.
So basically the article covers how he started and the steps he and the management has taken to help him adjust to the North American scene in terms of like what steps are they taking for his English, like what is Lustboy doing on his part of like the deal of being a TSM member? Is he actually practicing his English? Is he like interacting with the team members? Of course, this is all based on assumption because we don't get to see everything that happens behind the scenes, right? All we have is this TSM Legends video and whatever Twitter like pictures you might see. But overall, I think Lustboy has really dedicated himself to adjust to the North American culture, and it really shows. Like even in TSM Legends, he actually tries to speak English, albeit it's written on a piece of paper. But I really respect that about him. Like being yes, like second language person myself, because I came from Korea over to Canada. Like I really understand where he's coming from. Like learning English is really hard. Adjusting to the culture is really difficult, and he's doing that at the same time while playing a competitive video game. I really respect that about him, and results clearly show his and TSM's efforts in like making him a TSM member.
Okay, so you started off by actually mentioning that before it was going to be a compare-contrast with the Team Liquid Piglet situation, and then you found that, you know, it was going to be a bit negative because it's going to be like, yep, Piglet, you're not doing it right, or whatever, Team Liquid's not doing this, and so you adjusted the focus of the article, which I commend you for that. That's really aware of you, and that's really considerate of you to do so. But my first question for you to open up the panel discussion, this is one I prepared a while ago. You talked about how TSM integrated Lustboy in your article, right? Like you showed a picture of Reginald's board and it said, all right, Lustboy, you're speaking like only English. There's no Korean for you. And you're going to do vlog posting and it's going to be in English, which shout out to the community for being so well receptive of that and like supporting him in that, because that's a very hard thing to do. And I'm glad that people are supportive of that, and that's going to go, and that has gone really far in helping out TSM and that. Do you think that Team Liquid should have pursued a similar route in incorporating Piglet? Because we look at the documentaries Team Liquid posted out, they would always have like, a translator over Skype come in whenever they had to have like a real serious talking with Piglet. He spoke Korean like purely throughout the whole thing, and a lot of interviews, whereas Phoenix, on the other hand, was actually like learning English and practicing it. He's conducted interviews with Travis in Sterling English. Do you think that if Piglet was placed in that situation, well, okay, I think there's like two different ways to ask this question, or two different dynamics with it. If Piglet was placed in the same position as Lustboy, given Piglet's personality and the expectations coming to Liquid, would he have gelled better with the team if he was forced to learn English the same way Lustboy was? So that's the first dynamic. The second dynamic is, should Team Liquid have pursued that, or were they right in their approach with it? If that makes sense.
Right.
I'm going through
It does.
Okay.
Do you want me to start it off?
Yeah, go for it. Because that question is directed to you, namely, and then if TK has his own thoughts, he can say that.
So to answer your first question, in a way, yes, that was one of my main focal points in the original article I was writing. Because in my opinion, I thought Team Liquid was kind of, how do you say, they're being too like soft on Piglet. Like compared to Lustboy, TSM's like, you're now a TSM employee. This is what you need to do, and we have our way of doing things, and you will follow them because we're hired you. We're giving you the money. Now Team Liquid's like, oh, you're like all-star player. We need to cater to your needs because if you leave, our investment has gone out the window. And oh, what do you need? Are you homesick? Do you need like someone to talk to? Do you want to go to Korean barbecue? Like that's fine and all, but I think you're being too soft on the guy because, like, yes, he is an all-star, but in the end, he's still your employee, and you should treat him as such. And what's the difference between on paper between him and like Phoenix? They're both Korean players. Yes, Piglet has a more like a pedigree behind him, but in the end, if you're North America, you're still going to be a Team Liquid player, and you should be treated as equals. Now, I think that way before, but I think Team Liquid tried the same method as TSM, but they just didn't like show to the public about it.
Okay.
Like watching the, what was it, Revelation?
Yeah,
The-
something like that.
or-
The
like,
documentary. I can't
yeah,
remember. No, it wasn't Reflections. That's Thorin's series.
Revelations
Something
or
like
whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah, something with the R. And basically,
Reloaded, Revolutions, Revisited, Revengeance.
Revenge is awesome. Like even in that video, it kind of shows that they actually tried with Piglet. Like he had English lessons to do. Like they gave him like 3 papers of things to work on. So basically, Team Liquid is doing the same thing as TSM, but I don't think they're being like super harsh about it up until they benched them.
Right.
So to answer your second question, I think they are being more like TSM in terms of like, you know, even there's Superstar Carry from season 3. You're in NA now, and you will have to adjust to our culture, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not sure if it's too late to like adapt to that kind of approach now, but
Right.
as I think Richard Lewis wrote it, or Thorin, I can't remember, about like Team Liquid showing their strength in their management.
It was Lewis.
Yeah, so I think Liquid is on the right track, and
Okay.
yeah, they should be more like if like esports wanting to be treated as, you know, like professional sport, like the players should be expected to be treated as, you know, adults in a way, in terms of like we're not gonna babysit you. You're here to work. We're paying you to do like represent our company, so you should be expected to perform as such, or, you know, learn English as such.
Right. Which I think Team Liquid got caught up in the Piglet hype as well. Because that's one thing is like, oh yeah, Piglet's going to come to NA, he's going to dominate. You know, I think that stardom made them really like nervous about like being really strict with him. And that also just geared his attitude to be like, all right, I'm going to pick Vayne every game, I'm going to just face roll kids. Like, he shit talked a lot. You know, like, he's coming here like, oh, double lift, I'll beat him with one hand. Like, he was talking that mad shit, which if you were, like, Western or anything, oh, God, you would have been flamed by the community. But because Piglet is Korean, Season 3 world champion, people fucking loved it. So, thank you, Hypocrisy. Anyway, so, yeah, I do think that they geared that up. Anyway, so, TK, any thoughts on that question?
The only thing that I have to add is that TSM kind of had a slight advantage with Lustboy, because they had an in-house translator in their coach, being that, like, if Lustboy didn't know how to say something or he didn't know how to communicate something, he could say it to Lustboy, or he could say it to Loco not in English, and then Loco could be like, this is how you say it in English, don't say it in Korean again. Whereas
Right.
with Piglet, they have to, like, call someone on Skype, and they don't have that person there.
Big difference.
And if you watch Travis's interview, it's not like they haven't tried to have someone in-house. It's that they can't seem to find the right person that knows both about League and about the Korean language, so that they can translate effectively. So I think that's, like, I don't think that's all of it, but I think that's a slight difference between the two situations that gives TSM kind of the edge when they're bringing in a Korean player specifically.
Right, okay. So, all right, now, TK, questions over to you for Andy and his article.
Okay, so my question kind of relates. You brought up the point of Starhorn Royal Club and modern-day EDG, where they've integrated Zz'rot, Insec, Pawn, and Deft really well. But a lot of that seems to be more they had the right players on the right team at the right time when there's a language barrier. How much of Lustboy's integration do you think is the management, and how much do you think is right player, right team, right time?
That's a good question. Now, before I want to touch on, people gave me a lot of criticism about not mentioning Loco Doco in the article. And I just forgot to mention him right now, so that's a double negative for me.
Fine, no, we picked it up. We're going to mask it all.
Anyway, to answer your question, I think it's a little bit of both. Again, if Loco Doco wasn't there, I don't think Lustboy would have, had troubles communicating with the team, right? But if you listen to other talk shows, one thing Lustboy brings to the table is like his vision control is a lot better than, let's say, Glebe. I don't know if he was better than Special. Maybe he is. But TSM needed someone to control the vision at bot lane and babysit Walter at the same time, and maybe Glebe didn't bring that to the table, right? So yes, I do think Lustboy's experience is right fit at the right time for TSM, and I think good management is just a cherry on top kind of thing. But I do think Lustboy's performance is really important.
Yeah. My thought on that point of conversation, I agree completely with that. TSM needed something specific out of bottom lane for their comp because you didn't need a shot caller because they were trying to place that responsibility on Bjergsen for some odd reason, and now it's on Santorin in the early game, so Bjergsen can do Bjerger things in lane. You have Dyrus in the top, who's like a rock. You had Amazing at the time, who's a carry jungler, so you weren't getting a whole lot of vision out of him because he's more focused on ganks, mechanical plays. So I think Lustboy coming in was definitely like TSM getting the vision control that they needed, and then the way they integrated him only just like served to improve that. And I do think Locodoco had a lot to play within that, and I think also Reginald handles it really well. I mean, like, I personally dislike his attitude about things, but I will never deny, hey, he's a great fucking manager, and he runs one of the best teams in NA. I won't ever question that about him, and he's smart, he knows his stuff, he manages really well, and I think that overall, they identified a need, and they brought him in, and it was great. And I think that on the topic of teams like Starhorn Royal Club and EDG, when you have players who have all the same goal in mind, that's when the communication issue doesn't pop up. But like you mentioned in your article, it's not enough to beat elite level Korean teams.
No.
Yeah, it's not. We've seen that, which is why it's super exciting to see UZI and OMG if they step up their game. I've been told that they kind of like whatever, and
they troll every game.
yeah, I'm
They
not
just troll.
surprised. I'm not surprised. But hey, if they're having fun with it, whatever. All right, so my next question. I mean, they're winning trolling, so I was like,
Yeah.
can't argue with that. Okay, that question's kind of bogus. Okay, we'll go with this one. So, we've talked about NA with imports right now, but there's another region. There's two other regions actually that deal with imports and stuff like that. Now, China, I feel like will probably. I don't know like the intricacies of that. I don't know if they have in-house translators. I don't know how it is for a Korean player to go from the Korean culture to a Chinese culture. They're both Oriental in terms of geography, in terms of like cultural history, such as Buddhism, Confucianism being elements that show up in some way in the two cultures. But going from Oriental culture to more Western culture, so United States, Europe, that's a bigger transition to me. And so I want to talk about that for a moment. Have you looked at all about the Europeans importing Korean players? For example, Fnatic imported two of them, Huni and Reignover, and people were initially with Fnatic because there was a whole new lineup. They lost like Soaz, they lost Expecte, and now it's like, all right, we got Fabevan in there now, we got these two Korean imports. Fnatic ain't gonna do shit. Suddenly they're at the top of the league. It's like, what the devil is that? So we hear, and when you listen to the in-game chats, the two Korean players, at least Huni, I think it is, they speak English rather well. Do you think that in Europe there's more of an infrastructure to help deal with like these in-house communication issues and focus on a common language? Do you think that, or have you looked at Europe at all in any sense?
Actually, on the side, I compile every single Korean imports, their stats KDA for the week, called a KISS report. Shameless plugin right there.
No, that's fine. That's one of the reasons why I really liked your TSM article and why I thought it was well informed, because this is a specific study for you. So we could actually call you like maybe an expert on the subject of
no.
Yeah, maybe relative to anyone on Reddit. So okay, continue.
Okay, to answer the question, do I think Europe has a better infrastructure for incorporating Korean players? I would say no. I would say they're on the same level as North America.
Okay.
It just depends on like how much each team wants to invest in it. Maybe Fnatic is just swimming in money, so they have better resources to spend on Reignover and Huni. But I think Reignover and Huni had they actually know how to speak basic English, so I can actually communicate with the team, right?
Right.
And you seen like the chat with team chats.
I think it's gone through all chat. It's gone through now I think it's called Mic Check, right? Keeps renaming.
Yeah.
So if you watch the recent Mic Check with Fnatic, you can tell it's really funny. They speak Korean when they're in the same lane together.
Yeah.
And when they're in the team, they're just screaming English, no, please end, don't troll. I really found it interesting. They're putting in the effort to speak English with the team.
Yeah.
In a team that's formed of English as second language players.
Yeah.
So I think yes, Fnatic and like Europe has the same infrastructure. I just think it's just the players themselves putting in more of the
Okay.
effort, especially for Huni and Reignover.
Okay. Because I asked that question because if you look at Europe, okay, we have, okay, in North America, English. It's pretty much
Mhm.
English, like, all around. There's communities that will speak other languages, like Spanish, probably like the second one. But in Europe, it's a hodgepodge because the whole continent of Europe basically fits close to within like the south
Mhm.
of the United States of America, and you have a bunch of different languages because of like the different history of nationalism. I'm getting into my history major right now in the region, and so you have French as a language, you have English as a language, you have German as a language, you have Russian as a language with some teams, you have all these different dialects. And so I asked that question because to me, if there was a region that would be able to grasp like dealing with a communication issue, it'd be Europe. Because in Europe, and we see this, it's possible to have guys from 3, 4 different nationalities who speak different primary languages, but the education system, I don't, this is okay, I'm fuzzing on it, but it seems like they have a fundamental grasp of English as a second language. Most Europeans I come across, well, or that we see either in the esports scene or they get into it, they speak English like
Sure.
pretty well. Like Daniel, he's a writer for Goal Pretend. He speaks really great English, and I think he's a Romanian actually. That's like his primary language. So that's why I asked that question, was because I didn't know if you looked into it at all. Because to me, it would be like, okay, Europe could probably deal with a language issue because they gotta do it anyway. America doesn't because everyone's same language
Yeah.
deal, but Europe actually has to balance that out. So I was curious as to that.
Like I think you're absolutely right because they don't speak English as fluent as America.
Mhm.
Like they're on the same playing field in terms of like learning English. So I think that is as for Fnatic anyway. I
Yeah,
think
front end. Are there any other
is
Korean? Oh yeah, there's Ryu. He's with.
Ryu
And
and Horo.
and Horo. But according to I think it was Daily Dot, Horo might be gone next week.
Okay.
Mhm.
So don't know if we can still consider him.
Yeah. Right.
Somebody joked about like, hey, Horo, SKT needs a jungler.
Yeah, Bengi. Bengi is.
Uh,
I have a love-hate relationship with him. He does stuff like he did in the GE Tiger series. I don't know if you guys saw that one. It was
Yeah.
week 5. He was playing
Mhm.
Nunu in the second game, and Callista had like 2 or 3 of her wraiths
Yeah.
circling around
Saw
red,
it.
and he just juked by them all and got to steal the red. And he was just like Mission Impossible unseen. Like he does that stuff. And then there's
Mhm.
games where he just like chills in a brush for like a minute straight, and then the mid laner comes down and kills him because he's sitting on a goddamn ward, and the enemy team has like telegraphed that completely, but he just doesn't move. He's like, I don't even know. Okay, all right. Side note there. All right, TK, I think you got the next one.
Um, I don't have a question so much as an observation.
Okay.
So, in recent memory, I could be wrong on this. I don't think any foreign import in any region has ever lasted more than one split if they have not placed top 3.
Okay.
Do you think that is because the team is blaming the import for the problem, or do you think that's because the import is just not satisfied with making that investment coming all the way out? And what do you think are the repercussions if they go and make that risk and don't place top 3?
I just say, look at CLG. They brought Seraph over, didn't work out, booted him out. Now they have a all North American roster. Now they're doing fine. No. That's just for CLG, but repercussions.
Like, do
Yeah,
you think it could stop them from getting success in their original region again? Like,
yeah, I think I read this in one of the chat sections on a Piglet article. People are saying that if he fails in North America, he can never go back to Korea again.
Yeah.
Like once you've been at the top and you come, well, I'm not gonna say NA sucks compared to Korea. Well, they do, but
I'm not going to say they do, but they do.
hate me, Reddit.
Hate. Come at me, bro. No,
Um,
you only get hated if you say EU is better than NA, or the other way around.
by far.
By-
Anyway, but yeah, if you've been in Korea and you come to NA and you kind of fail, people are gonna point fingers at you, obviously, because you're from Korea, you're supposed to carry. Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Korean bronze, North America challenger, Korean bronze 5, and you can't carry that. What the fuck?
yeah. So, I think they do blame the Korean player a lot. That's the reason you don't see like many Korean people like sticking around after a split. I don't know how long Lokudoku stayed at CLG as a support, but I don't know if you guys remember.
Not long.
Did he last a split? Yeah. So, yeah, basically, if you're a foreign import, even in professional sports, I think if you don't work out for like one season, you're about to get the boot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd actually be interested in looking into that because I think there might be like statements in that or something. Like actually we could kind of like talk about that in a way with the case of Crepo and Evil Geniuses, because even though Crepo wasn't from an Asian country and English was like a language that he spoke, he was still technically an import into NA. And there was, let's see, they also had Helios, they had Inox in the top, so stuff like that. In Crepo's case, actually, and like based on his Facebook post at the time about that, it was very much him being like very unsatisfied with the team, and the team also like having a really shit environment. So that's the one case I know that was documented, at least is why he left that organization and that team. So I think it kind of could go both ways. I don't know, to relate it back to the Piglet discussion, I don't know if Piglet will leave and he's like, man, I wanted more out of NA because he comes off that competitive, or if Team Liquid will say, all right, this hasn't worked out like we were hoping for because you were supposed to do this and it's like this. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and I don't know how well we can document that because a lot of things are PR stunts.
Yeah.
As it was a discussion, a lot of things are kept under wraps, so
I'm
not sure about that one, but that's definitely an interesting point of how to frame it. Okay.
It's really funny. You see like a Team Liquid PR like, no, Piglet's actually like fitting in well. Like he's actually trying with the team and he's not toxic at all. Then later I watch his stream and he's like saying fuck you to like his laners who are like not from sucking. I'm like, what am I supposed to believe?
You're like, dude, it's like, what is this? And the Piglet's just like, yeah, I don't have to scrim right now. I just get to chill here and play game all day. You know what? I'm really relaxed now that I don't have to do my job. To put it like that, which is putting him in a really bad light. Don't mean it like that. I'm just being facetious. I'm interested to see where that plays out with Piglet. Best wishes to him. Team Liquid, Keith, my boy. Yeah, you went 1-1. Do it again or go 2-0. Team Liquid looked really good in their first game with Keith in week 5. They just had a really bad comp, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. I also don't like the Triforce vein.
Yeah, no.
I didn't get that so much.
And it's something that Piglet does in solo queue, and that's a whole bunch of discussions about that. But we don't have a Team Liquid article to talk about right here, and also I work with Liquid Legends right now, so I don't know what my stance is, like how honest or like brutal I can be about that team. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
Okay, cut the stream,
Team
boys.
Liquid
We're out.
Team NA.
Team Liquid NA. Yeah,
We
I
love
just gotta get on the hashtag passion, yo. Anyways, okay, so now we're gonna move on to the second article that we're gonna discuss, and so we're shifting gears like we usually do, and we're going to go into a more area where I'm comfortable in. I've discovered this about myself. I'm more comfortable with talking about the game and analysis rather than players in the scene, stuff like that. So we're going to move on to talking about an item in the scene that our boy TK here would like to see in competitive play, as well as Monte Cristo, so they share that in common. There you go. TK is equivalent to Monte Cristo. Make it
10
work,
out of
Reddit.
10.
10 out of 10. Make it work. So
TK Crystal, let's go.
come on, Christy. All right, so Zz'rot's portal should be used competitively. TK, give us a lowdown on the article. And
Okay.
Also, I'm going to make you do this, because we're going to do this with mine. What was your experience like with the article when you tried to get it on Reddit?
Oh, boy.
All right, so start off with the article. Like, okay, what made you want to write it? What made you want to write it? And then let me know what the masses did with it.
Okay, so I'm a geek like Monte Cristo, and I like those games where it's like slow, strategic, low kill, can last like an hour if it's played well.
79 minutes if you're Janair and CJ. Oh my god.
Yeah, I loved that game.
That was so great.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
Andy's like, god damn.
this item screamed to me like this is going to be a fantastic competitive item if people take away their initial perceptions of it. Because when you see this item, like, you put down a portal, some minions come out to help you push the wave. Oh, split push item. I don't think that's the most optimal use for it. Because I think the most optimal use is to play mind games with people. Specifically for a top laner when they're teleporting into a team fight. So how I think you should use it is right as the enemy top laner begins to teleport into the team fight, you place the portal down so that you force the enemy top laner into a situation where they either have to let the lane get pushed in and potentially lose a turret if you can elongate the team fight, or they have to stop their teleport and avoid the team fight so that they can stop their way from being pushed in. Beyond that, I think that the active only costs 440 gold, which is 80 more than Sightstone, so it's not that bad. The stats are pretty great. Though it doesn't give any combat effectiveness, I think that the utility it provides is more than worth it. That being said, because of how I think you should use it, I don't think it's a great item for solo queue. In fact, I think it's pretty bad in an unstructured environment. But yeah, that's my opinion on that item.
Okay, and then, forgive me for being a bad host, but right now Thorin posted an article on Insect, so now I'm like, so does this mean I
yeah, I
can
saw that
approach
too.
you about starring on our next weekly article panel, Mr. Thorin? Will we have some really hard goal pretend cash coming your way?
Hold on.
So again,
And you wanted me to talk about Reddit too, right?
Yeah, yep, that's it. I was going to ask.
All right.
Did you mention that?
Here it comes.
Hold on, I gotta find one comment specifically.
Yes,
Oh
give me
my
the
God.
comments. Give me it. So, and this is going to prove the host why I host this show and not TK, because when TK goes to Reddit, they'll do to him what he explains. But when I get to Reddit, people are like, "Oh yeah, it's a great article. It's really well researched. Oh, here's some legitimate feedback on it."
Oh, I get that usually with my pick ban articles, but
Yeah.
this one, here's my favorite one.
Okay.
People get paid to write these articles. This is some pretty cringeworthy theory crafting. Hold on, I got a better one.
Okay.
This is wrong. I'm not sure how to explain it,
Oh, no.
but whether you're pushed or pushed, then place the portal, it will make little to no difference. I don't know what that comment means, but thank you,
I don't think he even did.
Skalinsky. So, I like this section.
Oh God.
I got a couple
Whether you're
replies, but
pushed or
Reddit did
pushed.
not appreciate this article.
That is fantastic. That even that one guy who, this is on one of my YouTube videos now, who was high and talked to me after the game. I played with him in ranked, and he's like, if you're average, you're a challenger, because if you feed, then you lose the game. But if you're getting fed and you carry, then you throw it because you eat dick and shit. So remember, if you're average, you are actually challenger. Like, that almost makes sense, and he was fucking high. I don't know what's that Reddit comment. Oh my god, charred mouth guy for the win. Alright, okay, so laughing about it now. Alright, so it didn't go over well with Reddit. People didn't like the article as a whole in there. So I'll kick off this one with my question, because I do think that, like you said, if there's a place for a Zz'rot portal to show up, it would be in competitive because of the use of it. But I'm going to go really hard on this one. So we've seen Riot introduce PvE items before. So to contextualize this for people who, for some reason, don't know the gaming terminology, PvP is per player versus player. Okay, and when I talk about that, you look at items in the game that focus around that. Okay, Randuin's Omen, for example, that's PvP. It slows the enemy carries, slows down their attack speed. They AoE slow to it. Spirit Visage, Banshee's Veil. That's all PvP. PvE is player versus environment. So you're not up against another player, you're up against an environment in the game. So for League of Legends, like minions, towers, dragon, baron, it's not something that it's a static element in the game. So with PvE items, we've seen like Omewrecker before. All right, it's like, oh look, this is gonna be a great item for diving towers. You can like disable it for a couple seconds, and they reworked it, revamped it, and we still don't fucking see it. We still don't. And Zz'rot Portal kind of falls into that, because it's not meant to like, oh, we're going to drop like these minions on the champions and it's going to apply this effect. It's like, we're going to go into a side lane and spawn little voidlings that just do damage to a tower. And it's sold as and marketed as a PvE item. Why is it, in your opinion, TK, and we'll have a quick discussion on this, that these PvE items don't ever gain popularity within League of Legends?
Okay, so it's really difficult to justify picking that up over something like a Sunfire Cape. Like, let's say, or Randuin's Omen, something that's going to help your team, because we're in a really heavy team fight meta right now.
Right.
Especially with the dragon fights being so important. And I think we've been in team fight metas for a very, very, very long time. I think that's slowly starting to change again, where poke comps are coming back, double AD and whatnot. especially like with Ezreal mid getting bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
So I think that, oh, and you see some PvE items come up sometimes, like Banner of Command specifically.
Mhm.
Even though it's only like 5 or 6 games, it gets some.
Yeah.
It grows a little bit. I think Zz'rot's Portal is going to be something more like that, where you have a more passive double AD composition or something.
Mm.
You put it down. You go. You team fight if you can. If you can't, then you get some poke down and contest dragon a little bit.
Mm.
I don't think it's an every game thing by any means. I don't think any of these PvE items will ever be an every game thing.
Right.
Specifically because team fights are so important in League of Legends.
Right. That's like we'll always have a team fight to fight.
Yeah.
And there's a concept too that I want to touch on for a moment, and that is like it's I don't even know like how to like describe it except for like the players can do it, so why this? So to relate this, look if you look at the summoner spells, there's clarity. No, that's like the cleanse. I'm trying to think of it.
No, it's clarity. Clairvoyance is
Clairvoyance is the vision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
clarity is the mana.
Clarity is
Remove.
the mana. Okay, then
Yeah.
is cleanse? Cleanse is the spell that does
Yeah.
the CC. Okay.
Yeah, that
Clarity, okay, restores mana regeneration. And the reason why we don't see that particular spell is because a good player will know how to manage their mana. They'll
Yeah.
manage their spells, and mana won't be an issue for them unless they're on a certain champion, which then they're going to build mana for it anyway. So they forgo that summoner spell to get something like Flash, which is always useful. Barrier for an extra shield that they wouldn't get otherwise, Ignite for extra damage, things like that. And that is a concept that I think relates to the case of these PvE items. Like Zz'rot Portal, okay. Lane control on the side. Now, while it does alleviate the need for like a champion to stay in that lane and go pick up that farm, okay, I think it gives gold, right? If it kills like a minion or something, it gives the gold for it.
Yes, you get the
Yeah.
CS.
It's not as reliable though because like it could miss a last hit. Like a player is gonna
Yeah.
hit a last hit. Like I would trust
Yeah.
a player if they're good at it. A professional player to last hit more than that thing. So you could be wasting gold in the side lane just to push the lane. And a player can set that up anyway, and they have more control over the kind of slow push that they want to have. So it's like a player can already go clear a side lane real fast, especially since top lane has teleport all the time. We see that happen a lot. So to me, it's like, why would you build an item to do what a player can already do? And instead get that Randuin's, get that Thornmail, get that Banshee's Veil, whatever it is, for the team fights that you're not going to get anywhere else. I think that's the concept that most hinders items like Omrecker and Zz'rot Portal. That's my discussion point. Oh shoot. Any
I
thoughts from
will
you?
say
Okay.
it will be more valuable next patch because it is getting an extra 10 armor and 10 MR, which buffs about 400 gold. So then the active only costs about 40 gold, so it's much more cost efficient. Like, to put that in perspective, you would need to get 2 CS to pay for the active.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I got a question in lines that similarly, but Andy, do you have any discussion points on this initial question, and then you can go on your own.
Yeah, since we're talking about competitive play anyway, if you can pick a team from each region, you don't have to talk about China because strategy in China, ha ha ha.
Racist.
If
It's true. Whatever. Yeah.
if you
and
had to,
I-
sorry, if you had to pick a team in NA or Europe and Korea to actually use the Zz'rot Portal in a competitive game, who would you pick?
If I were to pick NA, I think Cloud9 could make the most effective use of it.
Okay.
Especially the way they've been playing lately. EU Elements, no question in my mind. Just because I feel like they could benefit from a more methodical, slow-pushing lane while they make moves on the other side of the map, because they're known as a more passive team, and this would allow them to make more moves while they don't have to worry about a lane being pushed in, so that alleviates some of the stress. Korea, I want to say Jin Air. I feel like Trace is really good on those big tanks. This gives a bunch of good stats, and it helps him split push a little bit. Either that or CJ, because I feel like Shy could use Zz'rot's Portal really well.
Yeah, especially Shai is so good on Windows, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't see why not.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that would make sense for that. So, My thoughts on that. So I also want to consider that. So we talked about teams. What about champions? What champions would you build Zz'rot Portal on?
Mundo is the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
The health regen helps him a lot. Maokai also makes a lot of sense for the same kind of reason. You can sort of justify it on Gnar, depending on your build path, but it would have to be way later in the build, like last item or something like that, and I don't like it that late.
Right. When would you like Zz'rot Portal?
Preferably second item.
Second item, okay.
So, like, let's say you have Maokai and you finish your Rod of Ages, you pick up the Zz'rot Portal then. Because then you can still utilize it in lane, and you can play some of those mind games I was talking about earlier. It's still good the later you go, because you can still do things like that throughout the entire game. That's just when it's, like, dire. There's a turret 5 feet in front of you if you're in the middle of the lane.
Right.
If you don't stop this thing, it's getting a turret.
Okay. All right, so now to go on to the next discussion point for that one. Let me see if I can recall it back in. Okay, so there was a change in the PBE that I saw a couple of days ago. Okay, right now you addressed the fact that right now we're in this really heavy team fighting meta because Dragon's a big focus, Baron's a really big focus, and with the inner towers with their shields as they are now, split pushing, we don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, in competitive play at all. I don't think I could even. I think it's been team fighting teams and poke comp teams, and that's about it as far as like the play styles of like team compositions go. With very few split pushings coming in, and it's been like that for like a while now, actually, especially since the top lane champion pool is limited in some way. It's pretty big right now, but it's around a class. So right now in PBE, okay, well I don't know if this change is still here, but I'm gonna pitch it. I don't know if it's still up or not. I'm thinking it is.
It hasn't been changed.
Okay, it hasn't changed. Okay, yeah. So right now in PBE, then the inner tower shields have been reduced to something like 30, if I'm not mistaken. So that it takes like basically one auto to break that shield on it. But the tower's health has been raised by like 100. No, not 100, like 300. So it's basically have the same health, but the shield on it is smaller, meaning that there's less regenerating health on the tower itself. Do you think that that change is going to enable more of a split pushing to come back in? Because based on how we discussed it, if there is a meta for Zz'rot Portal to actually be effective, it would be a super heavy split pushing meta.
Yeah. So I don't know that this turret change is going to do too much to affect split pushing.
Yeah.
I think more needs to be done. I think certain champions need to come back. If Mundo got a tiny buff, then yeah, heavy split pushing could work again, I think. But yeah, that's kind of what would be needed. I don't think this turret change is going to make it too huge of a difference, though.
Yeah, no, it is pretty small. But like a step in that direction, though. Where
step
it's like,
in that direction, yeah.
Yeah. If we keep on going for right to be like, okay, boys, in the name of strategic diversity, we're gonna make sure that split pushing can be a thing.
We're gonna make sure Nasus is a champion.
Right.
Oh god.
Yeah. No. Let's see. I had a rank game actually, which I lost the replay for, which breaks my heart because I was gonna like go over the replay, like do some analysis with it, put it up on YouTube, but then my program freaked out and I lost it, and I was just like, no. Where we actually had like a super big team fighting comp. We had like Sejuani jungle, I was Janna support. Who was our mid lane? It doesn't matter. We were like a super heavy engaged like team fighting team, and the enemy team had like Diana mid, Tryndamere top. I mean, it was like a split push team, and we literally ended the game within. It's like we committed to like this, like we finally grouped up, we pushed down mid lane, tore through some towers together. Tryndamere just kept split pushing top, just like whack, 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 doing Tryndamere things. We took mid inhibitor, he took top, we fell back, we grabbed Baron, and then before the Baron buff expired, we ended the game by pushing down top and just being done with it. So yeah, team fight versus split push, team fight.
Team fight wins 100% right now.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. So
yeah.
Okay, so then for both of you guys, what specific changes either to champions or to how the map is / works? Because I remember the preseason they had like, oh, in the riverbed there's going to be like this health pack thing that gives you extra movement speed and vision over walls. If you remember that like way back at the start of Season 5, that never went live with it. What kind of changes would have to occur for a split push meta to come back into the league? This is to both of you.
Oh wow.
I think it's more champion-specific things. If we're gonna go with a meta champion right now, I'll go back to Mundo.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that's not just a numbers change. If Mundo's auto attacks, when he had E-empowered auto attacks, did like 1/3 of the damage to the minions surrounding the minion you're attacking, that'd be great.
Oh.
It'd be broken,
Ah.
and it would need to be balanced, but that's the most creative thing I could think of off the top of my
All right,
head.
so like champion buffs.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, what about you? Any creative thoughts from you?
Not really, but same thing with TK. Just champion buffs here and there would be nice. Like some composition you can never see right now, you would see like back in season 4 or 3
Right,
might be beneficial. That yeah.
right, okay. Especially like buffs to champions in ways that lets them play out in a lane swap, because historically,
Yeah.
okay, top lane has been like the heavy split pushing role. Mid lane has kind of seen it when like an assassin like Zed comes up, but top
Zed,
lane
Yasuo.
historically, yeah, Yasuo as well. Historically, it's been top, and this is like the days of like, oh, Kennen was a carry, Riven was played on occasion, Tryndamere was brought up, and right now those champions just don't do well in a lane swap. So, and actually, like the concept of, hey, Riot, if you want certain things to come in, you have to do specific targeted changes rather than global, because if you do global, shit doesn't go away. It's actually really relevant to the next article that we'll talk about. But any other questions on this one? Andy, do you have any?
While I was we're talking about like different PvE items. I had like a really stupid thought. Does the banner of command actually stack with like the Baron buffs?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
it
Baron
does.
minion buffs?
Yeah, so actually, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so this.
Does
Do you want this one, TK, or do I? I think you and I got
You
this
can
one.
take it.
Okay, so how that actually works, and what could be really troll for teams to do, okay, is that it does stack with the Baron buff. So what you can do with Banner Command, actually, is that you can place it onto a Baron buff cannon minion, and then he's invulnerable to AP damage. So even if the enemy has, like, this super long, like, AP wave clearing champion, like Zz'rot, for example, he can't kill the cannon minion. Like, the only way for them to come up and kill that cannon minion is for the AD carry to basically step up and auto attack it.
calling.
Oh yeah, oh, calling it and stuff. Yeah, so that you could do that, and it's like super troll if you do. But it's like all of that for like 50 damage to the tower every some odd seconds. Kind of not worth investing that much gold into, but it's still funny as hell. I'm just waiting for it to happen. I want a team to do that, where it's like they get 3 banner commands, and then they refuse to attack the towers. They just keep on, like, when it gets to the point where you have a cannon minion every wave, they just begin accumulating these cannon minions, and they just like let them destroy the base. And that would be just like the best troll way of ending a game ever. I want to see it.
It's a literal siege.
Oh, hold on, TK, you lagged a little bit.
Okay. That happens in China sometimes. You're missing out.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, I work at a fast food job during the days, and so I have to like balance that, and then it's like I want to play League, but I also need to write about it. It's like so something's got to suffer, man. And even though I took Chinese in junior high, I just haven't gotten in. So okay,
One day.
so one day would Riot broadcast all the games, something like that. I don't know. Okay, so any other questions on the Zz'rot portal, or is this? I think it's kind of close. I can't think of another question. Just like, damn shame, Rito.
Now Reddit won't have more to complain about. Snap.
Snap, crackle, pop, man. Oh, damn. Okay, so now we've saved the most pretentious, I mean the best for last. So this article is actually not a recent one. Spoilers, I'm the author of it. So, all right, hold on. I'm reclaiming my throne at the top of the panel. Yes. So now everyone is in the proper position. So people, if you're thinking for a while that our identities have been shifting between, I've been Last Blue for a time, then I switched to TK. This is how it actually is. TK's in the bottom right. That's his Twitter handle. That's the face associated with that name. There's Last Blue there. CD Mangaka right here. This, I don't know what you call this. Face. Okay. I wrote an article about a month ago. It was one of my first works with Gold Pretend, probably my second actually. No, I'm pretty sure my second, and it was Buzzwords Won't Change the Jungle. And it's a bit of a Time Lord experience almost, because within the last week, right now the cool thing to do on Reddit is to go in and say, well, if you'd make this change to these champions or in this way, then you'd buff the jungle. You'd really bring in diversity by buffing these champions for the jungle. You do that, you make like front page within 5 minutes and 2,000 points. Like that's been Reddit for like the past 2-3 days until the LCS came on, and it's like, okay, let's talk about the competitive stuff again. So there's that for you. The jungle diversity article I wrote a month ago, and then some random guy this is the second time it actually got posted, but this time it took off. Another guy posted it, and it was actually really well received. I think Drexen like tweeted about it. A couple other people did as well. I mean, it circulated really well, and a lot of them liked it. They gave some feedback on it. It was all great. But my point with the article boiled down to Riot has done really cool things with the jungle. Smite changes, pretty cool. Each camp having its own unique buff when you smite it, also pretty cool. But the champion diversity pool is like one of the lowest we've seen in a while. Like Riot's like, all right, out with the Kazakhs, out with the Elise. None of this early aggression. We're going to make it super hard for people to clear. But in doing that, and then other global changes, they've hurt everybody else. Stonewall had a really good analysis that he just came out with. Okay, it's like on a basketball court, like the god tier champions, like they don't have to jump to put the ball into the hoop. They can just like put it in there. Whereas everybody else has to jump, and some champions just can't jump high enough to even put it in. What Riot does with the global changes is that they adjust the height of the hoop, and they adjusted so now that the god tier junglers, now they have to jump to do the things in the jungle, but they can still do it. Whereas everybody else who had to jump before, now they can't even fucking reach it. I really like that analysis point from him. I think it was in his video, like, jungle diversity is dead. Just boom. All right, called it, boys. Time of Death, Season 5. And the point of the article basically says, Riot, these global changes to why they've been great, trying to balance the jungle based on, like, global changes, so, like, hitting items, changing, like, pots, the gold cost of switching between jungle enchantments isn't going to do a damn thing to affect the top tier junglers. And right now, the jungle's in a state where nerfs are like the last thing we should be looking at to bring in new champions, because not a lot of people can do that anyway right now. Like, the jungle's in a state where if you wanted to bring junglers in, you'd have to buff them in terms of clear, like Nautilus, like Zac, so like talking about tank junglers specifically. And then there's also the side point of, even if you do that, we might not see that happen in competitive play, simply because with the top lane being as it is now, with top laners requiring to take teleport and then being either a tank or utility mage, throwing in a tank in the jungler is really going to limit your damage. So we might not even see that in competitive play, but just because like lane swaps exist. Like, put a Tryndamere in a lane swap, you're going to fucking lose. That's how it is. So, yeah, that's basic points on that. Jungle right now is stifled because top lane is focused on being these certain things because of a strategic choice which you can never balance, and then the jungle itself is just really whacked out right now. And 5.4 right now, people are like, all right, we're fucking sick of this shit. So, all right, let's open up some questions, boys. Who wants to take it first?
Okay, so we looked at before this started. We looked at the new item that they're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's like Brambleback or something like that. Yeah. So right now, like changes have dropped in the jungle. We're seeing the first wave of tank jungler buffs coming in on Surrender at 20. I have them right here. Cinder Hulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
and
historically,
go on.
Historically, these items are ridiculously broken on release. Feral Flare comes to mind. The Spring Split NALCS playoffs last year, it was like the only jungle item that was taken. Do you think that this item will be broken in that way, so that you have to pick a tank jungler again? And if so, what do you think that's going to do to the top lane meta?
Okay. So my own personal thoughts, I don't know. I think, okay, so within the Go Pretend like Skype conversations, I'm not going to say names or anything. There's actually like a lot of like shit talking on Riot and like, dude, they don't know how to balance the game, stuff like that. Some people have faith in them. I'm one of those people. I think that they fuck up a lot, but they usually always sort it out. Like, if you look at the trinket changes, I personally like them. I like the changes to support, and support overall is in a really good position right now. I don't like what they're trying to do, the AD carry itemization shit on occasion. I'm like, this is just not going to do shit, because to me that's an issue of champion and how that champion role fulfills rather than build order and shit like that. But for this item, I don't know if it'll necessarily change that. Right now, for context, okay, what it says on the PBE. So it's going to give like 350 health, and it also is going to grant 25% bonus health from all your health. So it's that whole old change to Spirit Stone, or like a Spirit of the Ancient Golem, like by the end of Season 3, which was a minimal change at best, in all honesty. I think that they should put Tenacity on it. Like, I really like it when Tenacity is in Hell Meteos sounded that off. Let me also look at... I'm trying to think. And right now, actually, so the item... It has a passive called Immolate. It deals 5 plus 1 per champion level magic damage per second to nearby enemies. And it deals 50% bonus damage to minions and monsters. So this gives tanks a little more damage in team fights. It's negligible at best. But it also gives them a little more wave, like a lot more wave clear. So let's see. If you're level 6, no, I'll say 5, you deal 10 damage per second to monsters around you. And with the 50% bonus damage, it's actually 15 per second to monster damage. Okay, that's a pretty good number. So this globally helps tanks out by... Oh, that's actually interesting looking at it. This will help tanks out in their clear. But actually what it is, you build a ruby first, and then you build that item. So you actually don't start with machete. So you don't... It doesn't actually help tanks clear by the time you get it. And this has always been the case. So if you remember on Quill Coat, okay? Quill Coat, I mean, it didn't do shit. This is effectively like a different version of Quill Coat. Like, it helped with sustain in the jungle, boosted like the clear by having a Thorma passive. But because that clear speed was delayed for those tank junglers, it doesn't fucking do the thing to the first clear. Alright? Which, Riot is doing a couple of things to some tanks right now. For example, Volibear, like, his bite goes on cooldown by, like, 50% or something if he uses it on a monster. So that's helping a champion clear. That's something that he's going to have right out of the start. But if you have to, like, build into an item, which is like 1,000 gold, and 1,000 gold, that's like half your fucking budget as a jungler, okay? If that bonus clear isn't going to be effective immediately right out of the gate, then this item, by the time it comes into play, it's already going to be, like... It's going to help, but it's not going to help when it's needed. It needs to be there at, like, level 1. Honestly, what I would like to see, and what would actually make an impact in the jungle, would be, like different machetes, okay? So, and, like champion-specific ones, okay? So, like, if you're Lee Sin, the one machete that you can pick is, like, the Bruiser machete, okay? And that could be, like, the same machete that we have right now, something like that. Then if you play Nautilus in the jungle, though, when you want to buy a machete, then you get, like the tank machete, which, like, gives you extra clearing stuff right there. Which, we can see that happen, because there's been champion-specific items before. Rengar's Trinkets come to mind, and his Bone Tooth Necklace comes to mind. So, I don't see, like... It would be a big overhaul, but that would be, like, the way to go about it. So, I don't think this is actually going to change anything, because until you target... Let me think. Okay, if the tanks and the kits get the changes that they need to clear earlier, and have help with that, like, immediately in that first clear, which is where... tanks suffer a bit, and where bruisers outclass them, then this item will further facilitate that, and tanks would be really good in the jungle. But if you're telling me that I have to wait until I get like 1,500 gold, because you got to upgrade your smite first, pretty much, and then you got to invest 1,000 gold to get this item. If you're telling me I have to wait that long, the bruisers have style on you already. Like, it's not going to do shit.
Yeah.
So if they change how this item comes about, then yeah. But it looks like they're doing the same shit they did with Quill Coat, and that's not going to do much. But if they keep going with champion direct changes, you know, like what they did with Nidalee, for example, like where it's bonus damage to monsters, or like a bonus like cooldown reduction to monsters, something like that, then that's where the real impact will be made in the jungle, is if you do targeted to champions like that. That's where you'd really hit it. And I don't see anything like that on PvE yet. So I think I had to go to Reddit and start a riot over that. My time to cash in. And to answer your second question on the top lane meta, I've taken so long with this one. I don't think it will, as far as competitive goes, because with lane swaps as they are, and always being an option, you basically have to play like a utility mage or a tank who can deal with a lane swap situation, either because they can farm at a distance, or their whole goal isn't to 1v1 somebody and get kills and snowball. And if that's going to be your top lane, then you need damage somewhere else, at least in the early game, to make plays, and that's the jungle. Plus tanks in the jungle right now. Like, tanks require levels and items, like a lot of them, to do their job really well. And you just don't get that out of the jungle. You'd have to, like, buff the gold in the jungle and the XP, which would also buff everybody else. So... I don't see it making that much of an impact yet. Summarize. Okay. That took too long. All right, Andy, do you have a question for me?
More of a theory crafting question for me. Like you just said, like one item will probably not make that much of a difference in the current jungle, like this clear time and champion diversity. If you have to pick, like, as of right now, if you can change one or two champions, and give them like specific buffs that will like help them be more relevant in the jungle, who will be the most easiest to change at the moment?
Okay. All right, and I'll frame it like this. This is an example of the changes I want to see out of Riot that would actually go to the cause of, quote-unquote, improving the jungle diversity pool. Okay, so... I'll go Sejuani, because we've actually seen her a couple times in competitive. I think Europe just played her today in the jungle, actually.
Diamond.
Yeah. I think she's really strong there. So, okay, I'll do Sejuani, and I'll say... I'll do Zac. Okay, I'll do Zac. So for those two, so these are tank junglers, for example, okay? And I'm picking tanks here because I think it's silly to try and go for farming-based junglers because Riot has consistently always hated on them. Pharaoh Flare nerfs, Devour nerfs, so goodbye Yi, Udyr, sorry. For those junglers, right out of the gate, I would give them a mechanic similar to what Nidalee's passive occurred with her, which I think that Riot should look and go, hey, we did this one change and suddenly this champion can really jungle well. You know, granted there's other aspects of Nidalee's kit, like her mobility with Cougar form, sustain, things like that, that also make her okay or really good in the jungle. But the passive change also cleared up the last issue that could have been there, which was clear speed. So for Sejuani's clear, this is how you would balance it so that tanks wouldn't have like this obscene amount of damage when they came out of the jungle to enemy champions, but their clear speed will be comparable to bruisers who are building damage and who are therefore moving around the jungle faster. That would be buffing aspects of their kit to do more damage to monsters and or maybe just monsters. Because, like, for example, Nidalee's passive, again, I'm going to harp on that. Her passive only procs to monsters. It doesn't proc to minions. Okay, so Riot, you have the technology to make monster-only damage. So, Sejuani's AoE, is that, I think that's her W.
E?
Yeah. No, her W is the
Yeah,
flail.
yeah.
Her W is the flail that she spins around, does AoE damage. Her E triggers it for another damage and some slow. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
And W's.
yeah. So what you could do is like, hell, what they're doing to like frickin' Bommy's Cinderback or the Cinder item, which is bonus damage to monsters. So like 50% bonus damage, like, and you could like level it up as levels go on. So then your clear speed as you level up that spell to emphasize your clear or something like that would go through. So like extra 30% bonus damage at the 50% bonus damage, hypothetical numbers here, and then like Zac's W. Okay, like it does like percent health damage, but like also have like bonus damage to monsters, okay, or like maybe a flat amount to monsters up to a cap or something like that. That way, the jungler has a spell level 1 that they can take, which they already do take at level 1 pretty much. Like Sejuani's going to start W, Zac's going to start W as well. All right, for clear in the jungle. So if you buff those aspects of their kit, immediately right out of the gate, a tank has improved clear, so then they can keep up with the bruisers in the jungle. Okay. Then they can move around the map faster and get more out of the jungle because they're farming faster, and then they're able to move the same way that Bruiser can. But unlike a Bruiser, they're not there to deal damage. They're there for CC. They're there for lockdown. And then while you take away the weakness that a tank in the jungle has, you alleviate the problem, and then you can say, hey, I can pick these guys, and they have comparable clear, but this guy brings in damage, he brings in a sick ultimate, we call it an insect nowadays, but this guy gives me really good teamfight engage and a lot of tankiness. Then that way you would level the playing field, but still keep the roles of those two different classes of junglers unique. That'd be the way that I would go about it, like immediately getting in changes. And we're seeing a bit of that right now with some of them. I just hope that Riot really gets on board and goes like full ham with it.
Yeah,
Because if they just say, all right, which they don't seem to be doing right now, because again, Volibear's clear is getting buffed. Xin Zhao, I think, was also getting a buff of some kind.
Yeah, his W
increased heal.
Scales better. Yeah, it's the same at rank 5, but it's
a little stronger early. Yeah, but his E actually okay. So Riot on Xin Zhao's E, they buffed the damage on it by
like 40.
Yeah, at level 5, but it's not like bonus damage to monsters. Yeah, these are like flat changes, which isn't going to help, okay? Because if you just buff tanks' damages, then then the jungler pool shifts. It doesn't widen. So, because then it's on like you have a Nautilus who can lock down. Not saying that this is what they're going for, but if a Nautilus can lock down your carry for 6 seconds and kill him in that time, that's retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't seem to be on board with that yet. So I'm hoping that Riot goes, hey, let's just give tanks extra bonus damage to monsters, alleviate the clear speed issue, so then they can farm in comparison to the other junglers, and therefore be less invulnerable to evades as well, but not be great duelists.
Yeah.
If they put it all in the item, it's gonna be bad. Anyways, go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Sorry. Random theory crafting because not that knowledgeable. Whatever happened to Shyvana jungle? Like, did she just fall off? Like,
I'm trying to think.
way back in like season 4.
Okay, so
Like,
I know this one. I know this question really well,
do
actually.
you think she like could clear like?
She clears really well.
Yeah.
But
and she can duel well.
And she duels really well. She's a clearing monster, but season 4. Okay, so season 4 context. I can tell you why she's not coming up right now, as well. But in season 4, she migrated to top lane. Okay, so season 4 changes the jungle that occurred. Gave a little bit less XP, gave a little less gold, and so with the jungle, even though you could clear it really fast, as Shyvana, you weren't getting as much out of it as you were in a solo lane. So here's an economic principle for you. Cost-benefit analysis. Okay, you could pick Shyvana. Okay, now, in picking her and in playing her in the jungle, you throw away the ability to play her in the top lane, where she's going to get more farm, more levels, and do more in the game. Okay, in the jungle she can farm well, but if you're going to place her in the jungle just to farm, why not put her in top lane anyway? Because that's where she's going to like really go with it. Sure, she can farm the jungle faster than like a Lee Sin or a Kha'Zix back then, but a Lee Sin and a Kha'Zix can also gank. You know,
right.
My brother. It's okay. Here's my brother's favorite joke with Shyvana. Whenever she shows up in lane and she's jungling, oh no, here comes Shyvana. She's applying her CC as we speak. It's like you have to take exhaust and give up flash for Shyvana jungle to actually have meaningful ganks, and even then it's once every 3 minutes. In season 5, you could do that with like with Stalker's Blade and having the slow on it to help her out with that, but you still have that cost-benefit analysis of a Shyvana in the top lane is going to get bigger and do more than a Shyvana in the jungle. Because the key thing with why the bruises that we're seeing are played in the jungle, J4 always going to be able to initiate a fight, and he's going to have his Cataclysm. That's so much utility right there. Rek'Sai has Tremor Sense, so they have some really good scouting capabilities. There's some fun vision play. You have insane global pressure. You don't need items for that. Shyvana, you don't have the same thing. You have to be tanky and deal damage, and that needs items and levels, and you just don't get that out of the jungle right now. So that's why we like really saw her come out of the jungle, and then Riot has consistently always nerfed junglers or items that enable junglers to farm the jungle and come out like comparable to a solo lane. We've seen this with Pharaoh Flare, we've seen this with Devour. Riot doesn't want farm-based junglers to be a thing. They don't want a jungler to be able to farm the jungle, do nothing, and then come out of the jungle. Even though the trade-off for that is that, okay, while they're doing that, your solo lane just got ganked in top, and now you're really behind, and now it's all on you to carry. So, that's why Shyvana kind of went out of the jungle. There's probably some other changes that happened as well. I think there are changes to her kit, like her E going through minions and being able to hit champions with that and applying like a % health buff improved her trading. So, okay, you want her to fight an enemy champion. There's like a change to her burnout as well. Now her fury stacked. I'm trying to think of how it all went, but the way that Riot changed her, it just made her better. Like, it made her stronger as a champion, but it also capitalized and made her a better laner. Same for Maokai. If you remember when they buffed him in Season 3.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, we're going to bring him back to the jungle, boys. Shit, he's top lane. Oh, that's why, because he actually gets farm and is able to not have these clearing issues because he's in a fucking lane and he gets really big. Because they didn't buff, like, clear speed on him, so... That's why Shyvana fell out and why repeated attempts to bring someone in the jungle has failed.
So if you give them more XP and gold, junglers will do fine.
Yeah, and you could right? And you can also, here's the thing, you could also do it in a way where solo laners can't abuse that, okay? What you could do is, we've already seen this with their quote-unquote design levers like to talk about. Machetes gives extra bonus gold when you clear a camp, okay? Why not give it extra bonus XP as well, just to help out junglers a bit? Because I'll tell you one thing right now, when I play jungle and solo queue, and I'm not a jungle main by any means, but when the enemy mid laner was like level 5 and I'm level 3, I'm like, whoa, fuck. And this is as like Rek'Sai. I played this the other day, and I was like, I was in that situation. I'm like, well, I can't go make a play off of that. I'm gonna get fucking killed. you could make it so that you could reduce the jungle camp's experience so that a solo laner starting it up isn't able to like clear them and get like a really big advantage going to lane. But you could give junglers who have like the machete item, which is staple now, the extra XP, and so that only the jungler is going to get that much XP out of the jungle, and only the jungler is going to get that much gold out of the jungle. And then you can balance it around how much it gets out of that. You could do that. And I think that would be a really fun change to see, and one that would help out. So that's my thought there.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't a
think-
question.
yeah.
I just went off on a tangent.
No, I
Do
agree with
think
you.
that- sorry.
Yeah. So
So you think like they'll make any buffs to the jungle in 5.5, given how much people are being angry about it?
well, they're trying to, but how effective those will be is up for debate. It's like Zach's buff is like, okay, you're improving the CC on his E, which is okay, but okay, his early clear is still going to be shit. Xin Zhao, you buffed his overall damage and a bit of his sustain, but you know that makes him. They could. I don't know if they nerf that or not. I do like the one change that I really like is volley bears. Once I find
Yeah.
it, like the cooldown.
50% cooldown reduction.
Yeah, it's like an 18-second cooldown normally. So making that 9 seconds, that's pretty freaking huge. That gives you that's like do changes like that, Riot. If you did changes to junglers that you or champions you want in the jungle, Nautilus, Zac, people like that, that's the kind of change they have to make. Change their spells so they do some more damage to the jungle in some way, and help their clearing speed out, without also making it a mechanic that applies to champions. So then, if you play Volibear, it's not to be this super huge tanky guy who also does like all this insane damage. It's to be the guy who is able to clear the jungle effectively, but be the tank that he wants to be. That's how Riot would have to change it. And I don't see a lot of that right now, but Riot just seems to not know what to fucking do in the jungle. But hopefully they'll begin to pick up on the success cases. To me, it looks like they're just experimenting right now with, okay, if we do this compared to that, what does that mean for this situation? How effective this one will be? And hopefully as the cases where they're hitting the nail on the head show up and have more success, they'll go, okay, why did this change work? Let's go look into that. And then maybe they'll start doing those kind of changes. I think that's the stage right now. Okay, so TK, question for you, or discussion point.
Discussion point. Okay, so there's been a lot of jungle nerfs recently, obviously. The one that has confused me the most is reverting the cost of switching between the two smites. Like, it was free for patch 5.3 and I think 5.2 too. So, like, if I wanted to start the purple smite so that I could have a better clear early and then switch the chilling smite before I enchanted it, I could do that. Now I can't. Why do you think they made that change? Because that seems like it would just, like, make the champion pool smaller. Because the champions that need that extra clear early and then want to switch later can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is my theory, I'll say, behind Riot's balancing of the jungle and what they want to do. Like, ever since the start of the season, it's like, we want to put all these static factors into place that we can tune without touching champions. You know, it's like, that's been their whole goal with this whole thing, is like, okay, rather than having to, like, you know, rather than, like, having to, like, say you have this siege champion right here who's really strong, and so because he's strong, these siege champions pop up, shit like that. We want to put in these static elements so that rather than like having to nerf Ziggs and then like upsetting all the Ziggs mains, we can just nerf this aspect about the game and balance it like that. They've tunneled on that with the jungle so fucking hard that they're not aware of the fact that their global changes hurt everybody. So okay, so it's like bruisers benefit from that ability to switch to smites like that, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna take a Ranger's Trail, like they can take a Ranger's Trailblazer to start, clear the jungle a little faster, go do some ganks, and then when they want to have that chilling smite in, and like, okay, now I'm going to go gank, I've gotten through the clear, I feel comfortable enough to gank, let me switch there. Alright, so bruisers benefit from that. Okay, bruisers are the stable jungle pick right now. Oh, hey, that mechanic that we introduced is like really benefiting these guys. It's made them only better right now. Oh, shit, that's not what we wanted. We better nerf that so we bring those bruisers in line.
Riot. Why not, like, maybe nerf the bruisers a little bit and buff the tanks?
What, specific targeted bait? No, man, that's not what Season 5 is about, man. No, Riot, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Because when you do these global changes, Riot... Okay, I'm going hard on this one, boys. This is the highlight clip, okay? This is the highlight clip for Reddit, all right?
Yeah.
When you go hard on these on these global changes, you don't do shit to the relative power spikes, okay? I made the basketball analogy, or alluded to Stonewall's basketball analogy. My analogy is this, okay? Say there's a scoring system, okay? Season 4, Lee Sin, 100. Okay, he scores 100 points in the jungle. Nihilus, he scores 50. Okay, arbitrary numbers. You do these global changes, you put these factors in place. Okay, now Lee Sin scores a 75, but Nihilus scores a 25. Okay, so Lee Sin is worse. Congratulations, you accomplished that goal. Why are we still doing Lee Sin? Because he's still 50 points ahead of Nihilus. And Nihilus is in a worse spot now before. Like, now he has some real big issues that Lee Sin is still able to cope with, and Lee Sin is still just as better than Nihilus. That's like my specific example. I've alluded to that before. When you do these global changes that everyone has access to, whether it be the form of an item or like the smite changes, the bruisers are going to benefit from it. Okay? I'm trying to think of... Okay, like a bruiser-specific debunk would be like the change to Chilling Smite, like the range reduction on that. Okay, which, hell, if I was a tank jungler and I wanted to build the Chilling Smite to add on to the CC, just like overcrowd somebody in that mid to late game stuff, because, okay, there's only 2 really good smites, Ranger's Tailblazer and Stalkers. Skirmisher's Blade, Europe keeps picking up, I don't know why.
I complained about it on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know why. Europe. And Poachers is just shit. It just doesn't do enough. So you only have the 2 really good smites, so people are going to use those 2. So if you take away the one that gives you like a better team fighting stuff, because let's be real, once the game goes on, you don't need Ranger's Trailblazer anymore for that early clear. Then it's time to switch to Chilling Smite. If you do that global change, it affects everybody. So if I was a tank who wanted to build that, that nerf also hurts me. So it's like these global changes are hurting everybody equally. But the Bruisers are able to deal with it because they don't need as much gold. Their base damage is enough, and they have enough CC, a good enough mix of damage and CC to get the ganks off that they need and clear well enough to actually live in this goddamn jungle, while tanks don't. So, Riot, I think you're getting it now. When you talked about it early in posts, is that, all right, clearly these haven't been working, it's time to get in there, buff some tank junglers, you know, like aspects of their kits in these ways. Good, you're getting on the right page. That's good. Specific champion adjustments is going to be good for the jungle, as far as diversity goes. If you buff clear speed on the junglers, that's like, to me, that's the best way of going about it, because then you don't impact, like, you don't make the tanks overpowered where they can lock down people but also deal tons of damage to them. So then the junglers can fulfill their own unique roles, but they're able to keep up with each other. So the jungler gets a little easy there. And I had my second point. And don't freak out, Riot. Don't freak out if these changes don't change competitive, because competitive is a very different place from solo queue. And you know what? I am personally fine in competitive play if the same 4 to 5 bruisers are played, as long as I can go home to solo queue and Nautilus is just as good a pick as any of those guys. Because I can pick Nautilus in the jungle when my top laner wants to play Tryndamere. And then my team comp is balanced, it's going to function like it should, and it's all going to work out. So, Riot, don't freak out if you don't see changes in the competitive jungle pool because of how the strategy plays out. I feel like the lane swap really limits what you can play in top lane. And that's okay, because there's still a lot to be played in top lane. I feel like now we're having like official roles for each lane, and that's okay. That's okay. Just calm the fuck down, Riot. Global changes aren't going to do shit. Oh, here's the bomb, boys. Buzzwords will not change the jungle. And there we go. There it is. We did it, boys. All right. All right. Time to go comment on another 8 posts so I can post that shit to Reddit. The highlight reel, man. Okay, so that's my honest opinion of where it goes. And now it's time to play the Time Lord game again. Wait 2-3 months when Riot does that change, and then I'm right. And then I'm right. Yeah. We gotta wait for it. We gotta wait for it. If they ever fucking do it. If they ever do it. So you got it right with Nidalee, Riot. It's a case study, I know, but it's a good case study to follow up and see if that theory applies. I think it does. So. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? So that was TK's. Andy, TK. Anything else? Another discussion point? I think we got time for one more.
TK, if you have a better one, then go ahead.
Okay, here's what we'll do then. Okay, so TK, you propose your question, Andy, you propose yours, and then I'll pick between the two. There we go. Slam.
Ah, damn it.
Wow, Colin.
What up, boys? Come at me now.
You're a horrible host.
I know, right? No, you missed the first week when I got the 2 freaking names backward. It was bad. Oh my.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh, that was pretty embarrassing. If they're both really good, I can spend time on both. I'll just not ramble for 20 minutes like I do. All right, so both you guys go.
I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
That's the.
Oh, here's a stupid, dumb question.
Okay, that's fine.
You know when Riot like does this like changes,
Okay.
like changes in jungle champion changes? Do you think they're doing it for the greater good of the community or doing it for the competitive scene?
Ooh.
Like who are they aiming for?
Oh
Or
snap!
oh shit, that's good.
Yes, I win.
That's like, yeah, that's not a dumb question at all. In some cases, I think they do it case by case. So what the competitive scene does, okay, is that it identifies what is the strongest and what is the best, and then it plays that and it figures it out and it utilizes it. Okay, so Riot then, because it's the best, because it was played for, when you go into ranked, if you study it at all, you're going to play that and you're going to pursue that, while other things fall off to the wayside. So with that sense, and with and since a lot of people watch competitive scene and then they go do the thing where they emulate the pros or like top popular streamers, shit like that, then suddenly what happens in competitive kind of trickles down to the community in a small way. Okay. I think some changes. Okay, for example, like the Kassadin changes. Okay, like the nerf to Rift Walk. I think that's a targeted competitive. Like personally, because Kassadin, like he's always been that big, but he's also been like that infuriating thing to play against because he is so fucking mobile. Okay. But whereas the case of like the Veigar changes, okay, for example, like Veigar doesn't really like he's seen like a bit of play in the competitive scene like on occasion, but he's not like this staple pick in the meta, okay?
No.
But like his changes, like they talk about it within the context of health of the community. Me not being a Veigar main and therefore being okay with nerfs to Veigar, there's my bias. Like the changes to him in the sense that they're really like hardcore nerfs. Do I think that they could use some tuning? If it turns out that they completely Olafed him, yeah, sure. Let's change like the changes to his E or just something on like that. They can play with that. But like that, I feel like they focus on like the element of counterplay pretty well. Like they might like be off the nail as far as numbers go in some cases, but they usually bring it in line and then it's okay and it's pretty good. I'm trying to think of like a really good like example of that. Maokai's rework, the Scion rework. They took like these like Scion's rework in particular. They took like this really bad case of it and they like unified it. Now like Scion has like a really cool identity to him, and now he's being seen in top lane. And every single one of Riot's like recent releases has shown up in competitive play, which to me stands out as a testament to how well they are getting at champion designing and making them really fun and unique and cool, but they're not like becoming super dominant because of like how their kit plays out. Like it's like the numbers. Like Rek'Sai, she was overtuned. They tone her down. She's a little more in line now. Braum is seeing some play. He's kind of tapered off because I think they nerfed him a lot. Azir seems to be a love child. The buffs right now. Who was the last one that they... Callista showing up, like, on occasion. She's not, like, dominating every single ADC, and heck, they had the buff for a little bit, but she offers a new strategic niche to the game. I think that they're doing a great job of giving you a reason to pick champions over other champions, and then bringing other champions in line to do that.
Yeah.
And I think overall, and they've created... I've been a fan of, like, almost all their reworks recently, and, like, a lot of their changes. Now, and also, okay, with the case of Lucian, okay, so going back a little bit on this one, because I've admitted my own bias with me not being a Veigar player. I was a Lucian main in Season 4, because Lucian was the ADC to main back then. And I will be the first to say, while I am bummed out that Lucian's gotten to the state where I can't just blind pick him every game and then, like, do okay, like, I wouldn't carry every game with him. I don't think he was that overbroken, but he was that safe. I felt like he did have to be nerfed, and I liked how they pushed him onto the niche that he is. And so now, rather than me just like blindly picking Lucian, like every time he was open and available because he was so vanilla and so good, now I have to like think about when I pick him and why I pick him over this case. Do I think he could use some buffs? Maybe. Do I think he's in a good place? Yeah. He's more interesting to pick for me now. So even with him being nerfed and being reworked, I like the changes they made to him. He's different. He's unique, and like he's funner to play in that way. So, like even with a nerf like that, I've been okay with it. So, as far as that goes, I think Riot, in the case of the jungle, might tunnel way too hard on competitive play, but at the same time, like the competitive scene just highlights the problem with the jungle. Like hell, every time I've seen a Fiddlesticks in the jungle, they've wrecked phase. Like Fiddlesticks
In
is a
China,
really good jungle.
Fiddlesticks is a big pick right now in competitive.
Yeah, in competitive, yeah, in China. So
Yeah.
it just depends on a regional thing, but it's like, yeah, I think they try to get the community, but sometimes they're like, oh, if competitive's doing this, then it must mean this, and they like see it. Like if one region's doing a specific thing, they don't care too much, but if every region's doing it, it's like, okay, that's an issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of both. I think it goes case by case, and
Yeah.
I think it takes them. In some cases, they get it right real fast, and other times it just it takes a year to sort out. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts there.
Season 6, boys.
Season 6, man. Every creep is going to be as strong as Baron in the jungle. You're not going to even be able to jungle right now. There's this great Reddit post. It was like the League of Legends in 2015. Like the jungler doesn't even leave the base till 10 minutes in. It was great. It was great. That was shared. So
We go back to level 10 meta where you just have 2 people sit in the top bush
yeah.
and
You know
wait,
what-
and then whoever gets there first wins the whole game.
Right? Yeah, no, well, you know what I want to like have happen? If I was in a professional team in League of Legends, I would say, guys, we're boycotting playing jungle. We're just gonna do a top man. That's all we're gonna fucking do. It's just like just do that. Just like right, well, or they're bare yet, just do 4v5. Like the jungler goes into game so he can't get penalized for not playing it, but then he just runs around the fountain like all game. And it's like, right, until you fix this shit. That's what I would love to see that shit, but yeah. No, so I think that's everything. Hopefully Riot. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna make a call right here. I'm gonna say that within 5 patches, so like 5 months, Riot will improve the jungle to what it needs to be. Because again, they've done a lot of good changes. I love the differences in Smite. I think that skirmishers and poachers need to be changed so that they're better and comparable. Again, it's like I feel like the jungle is a case where it needs buffs. I like the item tree paths. I think those are all really good tree paths for the junglers to have. Let me think. I like how each camp has its own unique strength to it, as well. I like how Dragon works. I like how Baron works. I like Scuttle. The environment of jungle is pretty nice, but I think you need to tone down the numbers on it, make it a little easier to jungle, help out some junglers with their clear speed, and then you'll open up the diversity for at least solo queue, and not make it such a shitty place to be. Maybe even like reduce. Oh, here's a fun idea. Take the respawn timer of the jungle creeps, have it start like where it is now, where it's like a minute 50 or some high shit like that, and then have it scale down as the game goes on to like 50 minutes a camp. That way, like, junglers can still have a steady stream of farm, and their laners can poach without it being so detrimental to them as laners begin to encroach in, and then junglers are able to keep up with their farm. I would like that change. I think that'd be good.
Yep.
It would keep the early game the same, but then late mid game help out junglers a bit. So, anyways, okay, we're reaching the hour-and-a-half mark right now, boys. Great show from everybody here. Thank you to Atlas Blue, Andy, and at TK's League, TK, for coming on with me this week. I think we've done another great show. We're going to get the next one out in time a little earlier. Had to play around the Japanese time zone and real-life schedules, boys and girls, so it's all been
Real
great
sorry.
there. Anyway, so yeah, go ahead, follow these
Big
guys
sorry.
on their Twitter pages. Check out their works on Gold Pretend. The links to the articles that we talked about today will be in the YouTube link below. Support these guys. A lot of great writers at Gold Pretend. A lot of great writers everywhere in the community. And hope to see you all next week. This is Zena Mangaka signing off. Andy, TK, last words.
Support Caseytron. Spectate Caseytron crisis is going on right now.
Spectate Casey Tron. Next.
It's a crisis.
Yeah, it's.
And e-stockism, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Whatever.
don't e-stock Caseytron.
Don't e-stock Casey Tron. Okay.
Don't watch Spectate Caseytron.
Don't watch it. We've had enough. Okay. See y'all later. This has been a great week.